All right, here we are. We're back.
We're back.
Welcome. Welcome to everyone listening out there and
Yes.
with us today for our Nexus Kids Leadership Podcast, episode 5.
5. Officially number 5.
Officially number 5. And we
Yes.
are here with Charis.
Hello.
Charis Lee, welcome.
Thank you.
It is so good to have you with us. For those that
is.
are listening, Nexus Kids Leadership and abroad, we do.
Abroad.
We put this podcast on because we want this to be a place to help you feel more connected with your Nexus Kids team. We also want you to know that Nexus Kids is this good because you serve.
That's right.
That is the reason why we are this good. And you're like, oh,
Yes.
James, that's pretty cocky. That's pretty proud. That's pretty.
Wow, James, that's pretty cocky. That's pretty proud.
That's pretty confident, but I think if you can't carry confidence and pride in what you do, in who
Yes.
you are and the things that I guess you're working towards, then how can anyone else really be proud of that? So I'm proud of this ministry. I'm
Wow.
proud of our team.
Yeah.
I'm proud of our
Yes.
Nexus Kids Leadership team.
Yes.
But we want you to know that we are this good because each and every one of you serve, give up your time.
yeah.
Charis, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You're doing all right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And your name is spelled Charis,
Yep.
which you must get a lot of interesting pronunciations.
Yes.
Is that correct? Any really interesting ones, or is it mainly just Charis and Charis?
I once got Charis.
Chorus.
Yeah, that happened because I was
Oh.
ordering coffee and they're like, what's your name?
Wow.
And I said, Charis, spelled Charis. And so he wrote it down.
Right.
But then
The A
probably-
didn't have the little thing.
The
and-
person-
I used to love when I worked, this is kind of related, when
Yeah,
I used to work with
kind of.
coffee, when I was on the till, I used to purposely spell names wrong. So that the person on handoff would just yell out the stupidest
wrong
things.
name or, like,
And
stumble.
it's a classic every time. And then I get to be like that good person that's like, it's actually Charis.
yeah. Get it right.
sorry. It's Charis. He meant Charis. Yeah.
Stitch up. I love that.
good.
We love it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're growing in what this podcast is and what we do and discover in this podcast. But
Yep.
last week we had Yvonne Cruz,
We did.
Eves
Yes.
Cruz on, and if you haven't checked that out, jump back on the pipes. It's episode 4, and Yvonne, you killed it. You did
Yeah,
such a
really
good
good.
job. I just loved how the podcast flowed, and that's how it should be. Just
Yeah.
a conversation, just to catch up, getting to know each and every one of our teams slowly but surely. Can you tell us in a snapshot a little bit about yourself, background, schooling, anything like that?
Yep. So I'm from Singapore.
Cool.
I think you've heard about it from Yvonne last
Great.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So you were born in Singapore?
yes.
Grew up in Singapore?
Yeah, so the first 3 years of my life was in China because my parents my dad was working there. He's
Great.
an aircraft engineer.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so he was sent there to set up the Singapore Airlines base.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
They
Free
flew-
flights? Do you get free
Yes.
flights? Oh, come on.
Is he still with Singapore Air?
No, he's with Virgin Australia,
Oh,
actually.
he is.
Oh.
Great. Here in Oz?
Yeah.
Great. That's sick.
Yeah.
I love that. So
Yeah.
you went to China when you were 3
No.
or for the
so-
first 3 years?
Yeah, for the first 3 years.
Great.
So they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went back to Singapore, had me, and then we flew back
Awesome.
to
Wow.
China.
Yep.
So we were there for 3 years. Went back to Singapore.
Yep.
Did sort of primary school there.
Yep.
And then moved to Australia,
Awesome.
Cool.
high school.
For high school.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And was that an English speaking? I guess I asked this to Yvonne last week as well. In Singapore, there was a main language was English at the school.
Yeah, so what we do in Singapore is we have English compulsory,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
we have a second language compulsory as well.
Wow.
So we learn it
Yeah.
like together.
Right.
Mm,
Yeah.
Wow.
But in one classroom, you could have some people that have the second language different.
Yes.
Whereas they are all learning English compulsory,
Yes.
and then each of you can choose which is your second language, but it has to be
Yeah.
one. Right.
Yeah, so there's like sort of 4 races in Singapore.
Right.
And depending on what your background is,
Yep.
you just pick that one as
Exactly.
your mother tongue. we
Great.
Call it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what did you choose? Mandarin?
yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Cool.
I wish I learnt Mandarin, especially working for VA in the past, having
Yep.
been owned by Chinese at the time. Opening up our Hong Kong route was
Yeah.
awesome. I went over there on a long weekend. It was so good. But the world, there's just Mandarin is one of the up there speaking languages around the world.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. So you speak now fluent English and fluent Mandarin?
I do, yes.
Great.
Wow.
That's cool.
All right, so that's at this point we're going to switch to Mandarin.
Yeah, that's right. So turn on Google Translate and here we go. I wish.
Record in English and then in Chinese.
Yeah. We're actually doing 2 episodes today,
cool.
guys. Yeah.
That is cool. Wow. All right. So you did senior schooling here, and then how old are you now? What are you doing now?
So I'm 23.
Yep.
I went to uni and did bachelor's
Great.
and honours and
In what subject? In what field?
biomedical science and psychology.
Wow. Come on. That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're finished uni, or you're still finishing up?
Finished uni, but
Yep.
starting back this year or next week.
Yeah.
I'm doing a master's in speech.
Come on.
Cool,
That's
yeah.
cool. As in speech pathology or speech as in language?
Speech pathology.
Yeah, come on. So is that a 2-year master's?
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, well, that's
cool.
good. And you went out of high school straight into university?
I
Yep.
did, yeah.
Oh, good. Very good. And you've been living in Brisbane since you've been in Australia?
I lived in Gold Coast for a year.
Right.
But my dad was doing the drive to Brisbane Airport every day.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we decided it was too far. And
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Move up to Brisbane and then
Yeah.
and off you go.
Yeah.
That's good. Is he based at a hangar or based at an
Yes,
office?
Hangar.
Yeah, awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool. The engineers at VA have a great job. They're
Yeah.
obviously based in the hangars, fixing, maintaining aircraft.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Very important job too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, very important job.
Keeping the planes in the sky.
Yeah.
But what a cool job setting China up, or Singapore Airlines base up in China for
Yeah.
Singapore
That's
Air. They're an
cool.
amazing airline. They've got beautiful aircraft and a great service as well. I've flown Singapore,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's really cool. I didn't even know any of that. That's so cool. Great. Now, what about? I'd love to ask a question, which if you could unpack it a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your Christian walk. So, you've been serving at a church for years now, and you have a faith. Can you tell us about your faith journey from growing up to where you are now?
Yeah, so a little bit like Bianca.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Christian family as well. But I guess when I was in Singapore, it was more like church was a given. So
Wow.
every Sunday we would definitely go.
Great.
And because my parents also used to serve
Right.
in church. So
Yep.
yeah, we were very involved, and it was not an option to not come to church.
Love that.
But then I sort of felt that my Christian walk was not my own.
Yep.
So like it
Totally.
was just sort of put on me, and it was something I was used to rather than something I wanted.
Yep.
So yeah, in kids' church in Singapore, we have kids camps.
Yep.
So I used to go every year, and I love them. They're
Like
so much
vacation
fun.
camp.
So talk to James
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I love that.
We won't be able to shut him up.
I want to do VBSs here. I want to do it.
Yes,
But
that'd be
keep going.
so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they, so it's like about a couple of days away, and we just get a chance to sort of draw closer to God.
On your own, without your parents.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
I found that opportunity really great because I got to discover what God means to me personally, and to build that relationship rather than just be like, like my parents are Christians, so I'm Christian.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
really cool.
yeah.
So it was during those times of your vacation Bible schools or your holiday camps that you were able to take that time, spend that time without your parents over your shoulder or in the house, and you could just explore God for yourself.
Yeah.
That's cool.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's when your Christian faith, I guess you could say, would have started.
Yeah.
Is about then, which would be what, like late primary school,
Yeah, about middle
primary school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so that's when I sort of experienced God for myself
Yep.
and realized that He is real. And I guess everyone's Christian faith is a bit different.
It is.
Like it's very personal
Yep.
and different to everyone else's. So yeah, I found what that meant for me, and yeah,
That's
like
cool.
That's
That's
cool.
really
never
great.
looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That's awesome.
And then moving to Australia, your family found a church eventually, I'm guessing, like coming from going to church every Sunday. Did they try a few different churches on the coast or at Brisbane and then find one that fit them, or how did that transition go into church in Brisbane and Australia?
So at the time, we had some family living on the Gold Coast, so we just went to their church. And then when we moved up here, because I went to Northside,
Yep.
so they recommended the church.
Nexus, yeah.
Yeah, so it used to be Northside.
Northside Christian
Yep.
family, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So started coming here.
Cool.
And yeah,
Never
loved
looked
it.
back. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, been here ever since.
I love
That's
that
so
so
good.
much. I love that.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
really awesome. And I'm not going to start talking about VBSs.
Here we go. Guys, skip to the next 20 minutes after. We don't want to listen to this.
But if we could one day get to a stage of putting that
is
on
good.
to
Yeah.
provide that
Yeah.
experience for our kids to experience
Yeah.
God on their own, away from their parents, on a camp, I would love that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Look out, world. Here we come.
And Karis, you will be forcibly conscripted to attending
That's
that.
right. You-
I would love to.
Yeah.
You're leading the camp
You
and
will be
have fun.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. I love that, Charis. That's so good.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 questions. Bianca's got a couple. I'll start with, I guess, my 3. What age group do you serve in now? And I'm going to preface that with, do you remember when you started serving at Nexus Kids? Because you've been
Yeah.
here longer than I
Yeah.
have.
Karis is a champion.
Charis
you know?
is a champion,
Yeah.
and I love that about you. I was saying to
Yeah.
the team, I was like, "Oh, we got Charis coming in today," and I said to them, not jokingly, Charis is pretty much the reason why this building's still standing.
Yeah.
It's because she's one of
Yeah.
those volunteers that's been serving the
Yeah.
longest, but you never hear from. But she's just consistently shows up, and I
Yeah.
love that about you,
Yeah.
Charis. But how long have you been serving? What age group are you with now? And then what are some other age groups that you have previously served with here at Nexus Kids?
Okay, so I'm in prep to grade 2s, and I think they're called prime
They
now.
are.
primes,
They're in
yes.
the prime, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so
That's cool.
I started serving in 2012, so 8 years now.
Very good.
Wow.
Just before I got here, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, at that time I was still in grade 11,
Great.
and just sort of got
Yeah,
into it.
that's
Rachel
right.
was the children's pastor
Yeah.
at that time.
She's my sister-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
That's
because you
awesome.
came in one day and you're like, oh, said something to her, and
Yeah.
everyone else is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she goes, oh yeah, he's my brother-in-law, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. So
so-
you started serving under H, year
Yeah.
11, and started out in the kindergarten or in a
still,
senior room?
yeah, still prep to grade 1s
Yeah,
the
right.
whole time. But because I'm on a month-on, month-off
Roster,
roster,
yeah.
sometimes I jump on my month off. Like if
Yeah,
there's
wow.
gaps, I jump on and fill in.
And we love that. We love that.
I'm
We
just
really
like,
do.
that is so who you are, Charis. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been like when I'm filling in,
Yeah.
they
It could be
just put me
anywhere.
anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
wow.
basically done every room,
Every age
but
group.
mainly just the prime age group.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool. Now, I'd love to ask a little bit about why it is that you serve. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but what is the why behind you, Charis, choosing to serve at Nexus Kids?
Yep. Well, I guess for me it's twofold. Firstly, kids are very close to my heart. Like I have a massive soft spot for them. Just something about them, like,
Great.
and also, you know, Jesus loves the little children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's a
I
song.
think it's so yeah, yeah,
No, that's cool.
yeah. But I think it's so important those childhood years because they impact your entire life. Like a lot of how you are as an adult is based on your experiences as a child. So I think if I can invest in children, like
I love that.
why not?
I love
Yeah.
And
that.
like sometimes I think about like why do I do this or why do I do something?
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I guess for me it's more of a why not?
Yeah.
Like
Come on.
yeah.
I love
So-
I love
Yeah.
that and say it regularly.
That's
Some
good.
people say why. I say why not.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're so right. And I think like your experience of God happened and was and started when you're in middle of primary school, which is
Yeah.
our prime age group. So
Yeah.
I think replicating that and giving that opportunity to the kids is something that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my final question before we jump over to B is I'd love to hear one, or if you've got more than one, definitely share it. But
I love this question.
any funny or strange experiences about serving in kids, something that the kids have done. Last week, Eve
Yeah.
shared a great story about her, a bit of a a testimony that she heard which changed
Yes.
an experience in
Yeah.
her life as well. So this
Yeah.
question is, what's something cool, funny or strange that you've seen or done
Yeah.
in a Nexus Kids room?
All right, so I've got so many.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go
We're
on.
so ready.
want
I
a couple.
love this
Come
question.
On. Yeah, this is good.
But I guess, yeah. Can I share two?
Do it.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
I'll share a
Please.
funny
We're so
one,
ready
and I'll
for two.
share one that like was
Yeah, a nice one.
Yeah.
Nice, warm-hearted
A warm-
moment. Warm-hearted
Warm and
moment.
fuzzies.
Warm and fuzzy.
well, yeah. So I just remember when we used to teach lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So the room leader would like teach a lesson, and we would watch a video to sort of reinforce
Yeah.
that message.
Yeah.
So one time we had a story on King David, and we went through the story, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna watch a video to reinforce this.
Yeah.
And like the video just like sort of took you through his life as king.
Right.
But there was just this one line where they said like, oh, King David, made some mistakes, and God was not happy with that. And then it sort of moved on to like
Yeah.
everything else, and then him dancing and all that, which was the main message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But the
video,
one thing, yeah,
the
go.
video finishes, and one of the kids just turns to me and goes, Charis, what was the mistake that King David made?
No.
Whoa.
And I was like,
yeah.
well, he did some bad things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another kid turns around and goes, he held hands with a girl. And I was like, oh no.
Yes.
And
Oh.
mums and dads will be coming down any moment now, so let's get our shoes in.
That's right. I think a lot of parents out there can relate. And my son is 6 now, my oldest Regan, and he's at the stage where we're getting a lot of questions that we're like, I don't want to dive in because it's going to start a conversation.
Yeah.
But like, where do babies come from and all of those? But it's like that. It's like when it's something that you don't want to lie about. But it's like,
Yeah.
But then you don't want to keep going back to their parent
Yeah.
and being like, Charis from Kids Church, so
right.
And the prep
Yeah.
and grade 1
yeah.
kid.
Oh,
I know. And I say to the kids
stresses me.
very regularly, and I also say to my children very regularly, to the kids here at church, I say, that's your homework for this
Yeah,
week.
ask mum and dad.
You come back
Yeah.
and depending on what it is, it's like, draw me a picture or like, write me a sentence or but if it's not that story, anyway. But if it's my son, I'm like, all right, well, that's something you can ask. That's something that mummy wants to tell you. And throw
Mum
her-
just told me that she really wants to catch up with you about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love that. That's a good
wow.
one. And your second story.
Yeah, so years ago,
Yeah.
when Nexus Care first started, they were running this sort of like a holiday program. It was just
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like a one or 2 day
Yeah.
program, just to get sort of the kids out and doing something. So we had that in that room over there,
Yeah, I
like
remember that.
here in the precinct.
Yep.
And I was asked to come and help out because they didn't have many leaders who were also serving on kids
Yep.
that were in Nexus Care.
Yep.
So I thought like, yeah, great. Like I love what Nexus Care does.
Awesome.
I'll come help out.
Great.
And I remember there being quite a few special needs children. And I sort of thought to myself like, great, I love that. Like I love that we're not just, here for all the kids.
The mainstream
that,
children,
Yeah,
Those that
but-
don't have difficulties. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're there for these people as well, and we make an effort, to minister to kids with special needs. So there was this one little boy who wouldn't sort of say anything, like he didn't talk to anyone,
Right.
didn't say a thing,
Yeah.
sort of just sat there
Yeah.
in the corner.
Yeah.
And I really felt that I should go and sit with him.
Yep.
Like, I know he probably wasn't going to talk to me, but that was fine. I'll sit there. Occasionally, I'll say a few words here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for most of the day, I was sitting with him, and kids were coming up to us and talking whenever they wanted. They
Yeah.
knew that if they needed me, they could find me.
Of
there.
course. Yeah. But you were
Yeah.
spending time with him,
Yeah.
just being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I remember this so clearly because
Wow.
it really shocked me.
Right.
His mum came in to pick him up.
Yeah.
He stood up and then looked at me and said, Jesus sat with little children as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And that's like all he said.
Oh.
Like the
Oh my
entire
goodness.
day to me.
Wow.
It's like, yeah.
Man.
Like sometimes you can get so caught up in the big things that Jesus does. Like, oh, Jesus walked on water, or he like said this, and he like gave a parable, and he always has like the best comebacks for anything that anyone can say. But like
Man.
you just see how important it is to show it through your actions. Like the actions are so important.
Yeah.
Before Jesus walked on water, he slept, and it's like sort of nothing's happening when you're sleeping, but that action is so important.
Right.
And like just sitting with the kids
Yeah.
is really important as well. Maybe not so much like what you say to them or like saying the right things all the time. Just your actions is something that they can feel as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know where
Drop that mic
where
right
to
there.
go from there. That's
Wow.
such a warm and
Mate.
fuzzy
Warm
and fuzzy
way to get me
story.
teared up.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like. James
I'm
got a
like,
bit quiet. I was like, is he crying? I'm back
done.
there. Or-
That'll do me. Left
Yeah,
eye.
wow.
Should be leaking. Someone get
Wow.
the plug.
Yeah, I
No,
didn't.
it's good, Charis.
Yeah.
I think that holds so much weight.
No, I don't know, Charis, even from the stories that you've shared, you get involved with so much. I mean, you help with I know you've helped with Nexus Care, and you help here at Nexus Kids. And I know a few of our other Nexus Kids team saw it on Facebook, but the Martyr Hospital shared a photo of you. You volunteer there, and, you have a bachelor's degree, and now you're going to do your master's, both incredible things. But you still turn up here on a Sunday, and I guess
I struggle getting dressed in the morning.
Yeah.
But like, here you are doing all this stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible. I guess where I'm going with that is, what's a mindset that you have, or sort of any tips or anything that you have for, because we have people that serve that have like 6 kids and they have their own business and they're busy and all this stuff. If you turn up for your rostered on Sunday and you're like, man, I do not want to be here. Like, I am so neck deep in uni work. I had a bad week. I'm over it. Sort of, how do you change your mindset to, okay, I'm here now. I've got to show up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I draw strength from coming to church. Like, I think, firstly, to hear the word of God is so important and refreshing for my soul, but also the community that we have here.
Good.
Sometimes, like, you're definitely very overwhelmed with everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
But I count it a privilege to serve.
Yeah.
Like, I love serving. And I think it's never like a one-way street where you're giving and you don't receive in return. I think when I serve, I always get refreshed in return. And like, I get to learn from the kids as well, even though they are younger.
Wow.
There's still so much to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I find it so important to come to church and to serve, especially when it's busy. Like, I think just sort of praying about it and being honest with God and saying, look, I'm feeling really overwhelmed, but I want to like focus on you when I'm in church.
Wow.
And like, it's, God rested on the 7th day.
Yeah.
And so Sundays are the days where I sort of rest, and I factor that into everything that I do as well. Like any work or uni, I sort of block off Sunday and treat it as
The Sabbath.
not a day that I'll be stressing for. So I'll plan uni work on my other days.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love what you said there, where you think of it as a privilege to serve, and you think that, it's not a chore to turn up. I find that sometimes even I'm like, don't want to come at all. And I'm like, wait, I'm the fool that signed up for this.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I'm the person in the first place that said that I want to do this.
But often we see
Yep.
I step through the doors. I hear it on a regular basis. I step through the doors and my soul was refreshed. And my day changed 180 degrees and it turned into a great day. And it's just that power of turning up. And I think it's the privilege to serve. We're not paying a price to serve. It's a privilege to serve the house and give back in that way.
I have one more. Sorry, before we. This one's like one that I feel like applies to everybody.
We forgot
that
our
serves
game,
here.
so we're going to play that quickly at the end.
Awesome.
But no, go hard.
Yeah, I feel like one that applies to everybody, especially if you've served personally alongside myself or James. This is something that you have to like, come to terms with pretty quickly.
Yeah,
but I did it to Charis probably when our hubs first started. I think the first Sunday the hub started, Charis came out to me and said, she asked me something about, who's leading the room or something. And I just turned around and I was like, oh, you are.
You're right with that?
Yeah. So I guess, what do you do on a morning where nothing is going to plan? We've planned a lesson, you've planned a lesson, but then someone doesn't show up and you were banking on them, or the kids are just not interested in what you've got to say. Just absolutely nothing is going to plan. What do you do and how do you stop from? Because Charis just looked at me when I said, oh, you are. And she's like, okay, great. And walked back into the room. And I was like, okay, thank God that went like that. Because
I've done that to you so many times.
Option. So I was like, okay. So I guess like being able to adapt without feeling like you failed or the morning's a failure or, still being able to move on and get something done.
Yeah, I think firstly, having trust in the other leaders and in you guys, the leadership team, is really important. And it's better when you know the other leaders and you know what their strengths are and you know each other's, what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because then you can, allocate different things. You can come up with things sort of on the spot when what you've planned isn't working.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to sort of meet the kids where they're at.
Yeah.
Like if today is just a day where they can't handle
too much structure.
Then sort of getting one-on-one with them or in small groups and maybe even as you're playing a game with them, you don't have to sort of set your ministry time to only when it's story time. That's when I can minister.
Yeah.
You can happen anytime.
That's
you could be when they first come through the door and you're playing Legos with them. You can talk about things there. And when you're in the park, it's at any point in time when you feel that it's the right time. The conversation can take place.
Yeah.
So I think being flexible is really important.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
yeah.
That you can't really expect or say it's your day's definitely gonna go this way.
They're kids.
Exactly.
They're kids. Yeah.
Ranging in different ages and attitudes.
Yeah.
So
Attention spans, myself
spans,
included.
All the A's. Yeah.
I'm over this lesson. Let's move on.
But I think it's all right. Flexibility and not being too wound up on the structure and knowing the fact, I think touching on what you spoke about before, that you sitting with a child playing parallel, not together, but parallel, so side by side, can have more of an impact on that child than them sitting through a lesson and
100%.
a sermon that you've created. I'm not saying that the preach and the video and the craft and the everything is not important, but I'm saying that we don't get too wound up on the structure because it's about that relationship that may have more of an impact to that child when they're 20 than you having to try and enforce rules.
Yeah, and I like too what you said about knowing the leaders in your groups, their strengths, what they enjoy.
Yeah, tailor-made service,
Yeah, and that's also, I guess, what we're aiming with this podcast is you listen to this, you know Charis is in your group and you know that Charis loves, she has a heart for sitting with those kids that may not be engaging and then you're
can't speak and she can determine what to say.
You're like, man, the morning is just not going to plan. All right, Charis, would you mind, sitting down with the kids, having a chat, or that you've got, I'm trying to think of a name of someone that we don't know.
Yeah.
You've got Glenda. Glenda's really good at, doing a craft with the kids. Okay, the morning is going terribly.
Yeah.
Glenda, can you run outside, grab some paper and some pens and
we're going to turn this upside down and run a craft session. And playing to their strengths. Exactly. And if you're like, we've got James in the room or we've got some energetic guy that loves to go outside and throw a ball, be like, all right, well, let's go. We're just going to go out, run for 10 minutes, then come in and be okay with having to change the structure of the morning. I love that.
That's so
and
good.
one more thing as well.
I
think it's really important for us leaders to sort of be sensitive and to make sure we know what's going on in the room. If you see another leader having a conversation with a child and they're connecting, try not to interrupt that. Like,
Good.
don't be like, oh, at 10:30, like we must do this.
Yes.
And so you interrupt that time
Yeah.
to sort of be on schedule. But then, you know, you're missing out on so much.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, if there's a relationship
Yeah.
happening, if there's engagement around
Yeah.
the room,
Yeah.
ride that out for 10 more minutes. We'll
Yeah.
cut group time short, whatever
And
it is.
in all transparency, we don't run on a timeline. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we're not going to come barging into the room like, it's 10:15
Why
and
aren't
you
you-
have not watched the video
All right,
yet.
everyone out.
Yeah, like, it's not
Yeah,
like
and
that
I think
at
that's
all.
and I think that's why we put our team. And I said this last week. I have a big say in the combination of people that are in a leadership room role in a room, because we entrust the leader with I think that freedom to be able to change things as much as they want. Before B was on staff, I was able to throw her into a room and be like, "Hey B, here's a curriculum. Like, go hard," and she'd pull together this really great service. Because that's just how she worked. But making sure that we are continually communicating to our team that you're on this team, because me and myself and our team have approved that you can be on our team because we trust your skill set, your knowledge and your understanding, and you don't have to be a biblical scholar to teach a sermon.
100%. Yeah.
But we give you the freedom to run with it. And if you've got questions, hit us up. We can help you as much as we want.
I find even James just said it just then, but even I found myself saying it so much, especially since the hub started. Like, and I said it with Charis, and I said it last week to the leader. They just look at me, and I was like, I trust you. Just do what you want. Yeah. Like, we seriously, we trust what you want to do. Whatever you want to do, just do it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. And then they come up with something great. Totally. And it's like,
or like the response to Charis that first week at Hubs is you're like, who's leading the room? And you're like, oh, it's you. And she's like, okay, cool. Yeah. All she needed was that go ahead. And then they'll run with it, which is awesome.
Or even like on the flip side of that, on Sunday, someone said to me, who's leading the room? And I was like, oh, can you? And they were like, I just don't feel comfortable. I was like, okay, sweet, no worries, I'll do it. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not, It's not going to, I'm not going to start throwing, we're not going to start throwing hands if
you're not blacklisted if you say no.
Mark their name, never coming back.
That's right. Never, ever again. I love that. It is so good to have you here, Charis. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I could talk for hours. I think you're wonderful and you're incredible. I want to see how good you are at a game.
Yeah, this is what it all comes down to. Yeah.
We played it last week for the first time.
Yeah.
B, you think of a category and a name.
Yes,
I think I might verse Charis.
I was about to say you're playing this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Ooh. So I think the go is, so you get a letter, you get 5 seconds, and you get a category.
Do you want separate categories? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Just in the is a letter and a category. Is that what I have
and
to
then
think
you have
of?
to say go and then count to 5, and then that's
all right.
it.
Maybe I should play. It's harder than pressure. Okay.
I can go first, just because I'll give you time to think and get better. And here we go.
Okay.
Ooh. Letter first.
Your letter is T.
I'm gonna kill the music. I need to concentrate. All right, letter T.
Letter
Tango.
T.
Oh, wow.
Do you want your
5
category?
seconds, 3 things. No, name 3 things.
Oh, name 3 things. Starting with. Are you running this game?
And then you got to say go. Because if you give me the category, I'll already start thinking. I'm in the zone. You ready for this? Play along with me.
5 seconds. 3 things.
Comment in the chat if you beat me. Comment in the chat.
Okay.
All right.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
3 things.
Yeah.
Starting with the letter T that you find in the classroom.
Oh.
1.
Teacher.
2.
Toilet paper.
3. 4.
Triangle.
Oh, okay.
Toilet paper?
The toilet paper, I don't know about that.
Failure.
Wow.
Triangle? I was like,
Maybe in
in the kiddie room, I find myself doing that textbook. T.
Oh, that's good.
Teacup, T.
I like the textbook. That's good. That was a good one in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, James is like the beach and the grocery store and
literally-
Woolworths, because apparently Woolworths isn't a grocery store. But
Yeah, I love a good grocery shop.
Okay, I have to think of another one for Charis.
Charis is up.
Okay.
I got 2 out of 3. Let's give it that
All right,
much.
Charis. All right, I'm trying to think of a letter.
It's good. Oh, that music is
Okay,
banging.
I've
Look at
got
that.
one.
Oh, here
I've
we go.
got one.
All right, ready?
All right, your
Okay.
letter is P.
Ooh,
This might be a bit hard, but I feel like it'd be a good one.
All right.
Your letter is P. 5 seconds. 3 things, starting with the letter P that you find at the gas station. 1.
All right, petrol.
2. 3.
Parking attendant.
4. 5. I said gas station because I was like, she's going to guess petrol, but
Well, she said parking
That was
attendant
good.
and
No, I
pump.
got 2 out of 3.
No, I'll give you all three. I'll give you all 3.
Okay,
That was epic.
We'll give you all 3.
Parking attendant. They could be that guy that
Sometimes
comes out
my
and fills
petrol
up the
station,
petrol.
yeah, they fill up for you.
Is that the Puma?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they
so good.
they do fill up.
And
It's
they
pretty
scan
good.
a little RSCQ docket for me because I'm like, yeah, I'm a member. I just don't have the card.
Oh, see, I do that all the
Yeah.
time, but I'm not as pretty as you, so I don't get to do that. See, I reckon that's what it is.
Security, get this guy
Yeah,
back.
yeah, he's got a shaved head. Who's this guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
that's funny.
Man, it has been so real. I have loved having you on, Charis.
Yeah,
Bianca, it's
thank
always
you.
a pleasure. But Charis, I'm pumped. This is,
Yeah.
I'm going to say our best one yet. It's up there. You and Eve's up
Yeah.
there with the best
Sorry,
yet.
everyone else.
Sorry, everyone else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over
second
it.
best.
Yeah.
But, guys, Leadership Podcast here at Nexus Kids. We have
Yeah.
our own YouTube channel now.
We do.
Please subscribe to that channel. Hit the little bell if you want notifications when I
wow.
post one. I know.
You're
I've
a
just done
YouTuber
it.
now.
I'm taking this tangent, but I've just done it to my favorite podcast on YouTube. I get a push
Don't
notification.
advertise it here.
Yeah, I won't. But I get a push notification, and then I
Yes.
can, from there, I can cast it to my TV in my study and watch it live when it goes live because they go live on YouTube.
Wow.
Man. Anyway, we have a
Wow.
podcast.
Look
It
at
is
that.
awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It is a Nexus Kids Leadership Podcast where we
Yes.
hope to make you feel more connected with
Yeah.
your Nexus Kids team. We want you to know that Nexus Kids is this good because
You're
serve.
that good.
You serve. Yeah, good.
I was gonna chime in with
Yeah.
1 leader at a time when
Yeah.
you're like getting to know our leadership team 1 leader at a time.
Oh, let's
But
tweak
he
that.
interrupted me.
Let's
so
tweak our
no,
document and
moment's
change
gone,
that.
James. The moment is gone.
But everyone at home, we want to thank you for joining us. Tune in for the next one. Stay
Yeah.
tuned. If you haven't watched the last ones, watch them.
Do
They're
it.
pretty cool.
Shoot us an email if you want to come on. We know
Wow. Do
everyone's
that.
busy, but we would love to have you.
We
Charis is a champion. We reached out to her literally
Yeah.
yesterday, and
Literally.
she's here. So
Or comment in the video as
Comment.
well. We love that. But anyway, for now, have a great week. Enjoy it. We'll see you around the hubs and
We
back
will.
at church real soon. Bye.
see you later.
Peace.